Is the US dollar potentially going to zero in the next few years? How bad are things going to be for the US? We're going to be talking about it in this video. One thing you have to be aware of is China and Russia are starting to team up, and they're actually starting to avoid using the US dollar. This is really big news. You can see them having a toast in the background. This relationship is going to change the geopolitical structure of the world, because we do have some very important things you do need to understand about this. So if we jump over to this web page, it says right here, China and Russia affirm economic cooperation for the next several years. So the world powers are actually beginning to change. The geopolitical structure is beginning to change. China and Russia are starting to team up, and this is bad for the United States. This is bad for the United States dollar. Why? Because it says here, prominent on the list was increasing the use of local currency, Chinese state media. And people cannot underestimate how huge this is for the global economy, how huge this is for the United States. And it also says right here, the affirmation of Russia-China economic cooperation comes as the US and its allies have sanctioned Russia over its unprovoked invasion of the Ukraine. So the Ukraine right here has been a pivotal zone for the world right now, and it is basically a battle between USA, UK, France, some of those other countries in the West versus basically Russia, which is starting to get some backing from China. And what's happening is Russia and China are coming closer together as this conflict expands, and this is not good for the US dollar. And you can see right here, the Kremlin was more explicit in stating the yuan and ruble already account for 2/3 of trade deal payments between the two countries, and they do have a big relationship in regards to bilateral trade, energy and food security, rail, and a lot more. And while China would commit to significantly increasing bilateral trade volume by 2030, the Kremlin was even more bullish, saying that the growth is going to be multiple times over. And this relationship between China and Russia is getting bigger and bigger, and they are going to avoid using US dollars. So we support using Chinese yuan in transactions between the Russian Federation and its partners in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The US dollar remains by far the dominant currency for global transactions, although publicly available figures indicate the use of the yuan has climbed into the low single percentages. So guys, this is something you have to be paying attention to. So we are seeing banking collapses in the US, we are seeing structural weakness in the US dollar, and we are seeing the Federal Reserve panic. They are increasing interest rates. They have just increased interest rates by 1/4 percentage point, but that is not enough to prop up the system. You guys know there is inflation, there is money printing, there is trillions of dollars of debt, and the US government is basically headed into a train wreck. And Bill Ackman says right here, we are headed for another train wreck. And this is based on Janet Yellen, what she has done with US banks, propping up the banking system. And you have to also understand, even though the Fed has been increasing interest rates, you have to understand that all these dollar printings, all these bailouts, all this inflation in the system is structurally going to undermine the US economy. It's going to undermine the US dollar, and people are going to see it as less credible, less safe, and especially if real geopolitical relationships between Putin, between Xi Jinping of China, if this comes to fruition, this is definitely time to panic. This is definitely time to watch out for this. And it is a very important update. I wanted to bring you guys this update. If you guys enjoy these macro political updates, economic updates on the channel, hit the thumbs up button as a bit of a notification. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this, because 2023, 2024, 2025, this is the time to be watching out in the world economy. I don't think things are going to be that rosy. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility, and I think the US money printer is definitely weakening the entire system. So not financial advice on the channel, but I do think there's going to be some crazy things happening in the world economy. The collapse potentially could get worse, and we're going to stay up to date regarding this on the channel and a lot more. So if you guys like it, let me know. More updates to come. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.